I'm not speaking plainly and clearly enough. Congratulations all and welcome to those who are graduates of 2026 Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights. We're so glad that you all were able to brave the humidity and the heat today and make it here in person and also make it here in Zoom land. If those of you who are on Zoom would help us by putting your full name on your window, that will help so that we know. For the benefit of those who are going to be working from an alphabetical list, it will help us to know who's here and in what order your name should be called. My task this afternoon is to offer you some housekeeping notes. So, in the spirit of being a good housekeeper, I will offer you these notes. If you have not already signed in and you are a graduate this year and you hope to leave today with a certificate of your graduation, please sign in so that we know that you're here. Cecil Rigby is raising his hand in the back. Please let him know that you are here so that he has you documented. If you parked next door, in this direction next door, you should move your vehicle or expect to be moved. The people next door are not affiliated with the South Carolina Progressive Network or the Modjeska School, and they don't hesitate to move your vehicle from where they want it not to be parked. If you are interested in some refreshments, we have some refreshments in the back corner over here. We've got some water and some tea and some other things. I think there's some ice and a cooler. And over here on the table, besides Dr. James Felder, there are some high-calorie refreshments as well, and we encourage you to take advantage of them too. There's also some healthy choices.
Some fruit.
And some fruit, that's exactly right. So the sugar is natural. There are bathrooms behind the rear corner. If you've not been to the building before, and I'm speaking to those who are the guests of our graduates today. So if you've not been to the Grove building before and you're not familiar, the bathrooms are around behind the refreshment corner. Now, James Carpenter is not yet in the room. He's outside the building, so he has a safari hat on with that mesh around the crown. He is the treasurer emeritus of the South Carolina Progressive Network, and he's been here a long, long time, and basically we won't let him go. So he's the one to see, graduates, if you want to settle up with your tuition payments, or guests, if you want to make donations to the South Carolina Progressive Network and the Modjeska School to keep going what we have done now for the past 11 years, please see James Carpenter. And then finally, see James Carpenter if you are interested in buying any of the books that are on the rear of this wall right here. We've got a number of really tremendous books that support the curriculum of the Modjeska School. If you're interested in buying any of them, or if you're interested in buying any of the T-shirts that we print at the Progressive Network and the Modjeska School, see him to make those purchases. Or if you look over here to my right, and you see these gorgeous coffee mugs, and you want to purchase one of those. All of your purchases support the work of the South Carolina Progressive Network and the Modjeska School. So all of your dollars and cents go to good places. Those are all of my housekeeping notes, except for what might be the most important of my housekeeping notes today, which is to bring to the podium I call him the academic dean of the Progressive Network's Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights, and that is Dr. Robert Green. Dr. Green.
Cecil, I'm not sure if I am happy or sad with that promotion I just received. I will make sure that my good friends and colleagues at Claflin are not aware that I have that title, lest they give me still more work to do. As the saying goes, I digress. All right, so first off, welcome. Especially for those of you who've not been in the Grow Building before, for those of you who are friends and family here with the graduates of the Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights, we thank you so much for coming this afternoon. I know it's a typical hot and humid June Saturday here in South Carolina, so it is not exactly easy to be out right now. Doubly so if you are like certain people in the room right now wearing a three-piece suit. I'm glad to see all of you here. And the first thing I'd like to have all of you do right now is to give yourself a round of applause. Had worked through a 16-week course, which I know has not been easy. We have had some very difficult conversations about the state of South Carolina, the state of the nation, and the state of the entire world. We have discussed some very difficult topics, such as slavery, lynchings, segregation, so on and so forth. But you've made it through. And I want you all to remember that you are part now of a unique community right here in South Carolina. You are, as of today, officially graduates of the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights, which means you are part of an elite core of men and women who have been in this class since 2015. You've had the opportunity to not only learn more about the history of this state, but to also discuss solutions to the problems that still plague this state right now. The Modjeska School is in many ways the latest iteration of what we know, historically speaking, as freedom schools or citizenship schools. Such schools have been around for a long time, and I would argue that I would put us in the same historical lineage as those schools that were run by enslaved people to learn how to read and write. Well, the first cadre of schools that were here in South Carolina during the Reconstruction period, when for the first time in our history, the entire state public education system was open to everyone, regardless of race, creed, or color. Something done in part by majority Black state legislature. We are also part of a tradition of learning and education that Modjeska Simkins herself supported in the late 1940s, at the height of the Second Red Scare, beginnings of the Cold War, a major turning point to the Civil Rights Movement. Mrs. Simkins actually led a freedom school in Irmo, South Carolina, that made sure that students there learned about their rights as citizens and as human beings. Of course, there are many such freedom schools around during the 1960s and the Civil Rights Movement, both here in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, all across the country. And today, we're fulfilling the obligation that we owe to each other as citizens, as human beings, as people with our own dreams and desires who wish to see South Carolina become the kind of state that we always know it can and should be. My hope this evening is that we will not only have a chance to hand out diplomas, not only have a chance to earn these cool magnets as well, but that you have the opportunity to fellowship with one another. Because at the end of the day, what the Modjeska Simkins School is all about is community and fellowship. Some of that, of course, involves learning history. Some of that involves learning about our rights as citizens, but all of it involves the courageous tenacity to meet new and interesting people. In 2026, in many ways, it's never been easier than it is right now to seek out new people, new ideas. But at the same time, we have never been more divided, more isolated from one another as simple human beings. But it's schools like this one, it's events like this that allow us all to fellowship with one another and to remember that contrary to what the news might tell you, contrary to what your Instagram feeds might tell you, many of us have many of the same dreams, aspirations, hopes, and fears. The powers that be don't want us to realize that. Because if we did, you might see rooms like this one, where folks, whether they're white, Black, Hispanic, Asian, Indigenous, gay, straight, lesbian, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, atheist, so on and so forth. You might start seeing more rooms like this where folks will join together across multiple color and racial and ethnic and gender lines. And they'll realize, you know what, we have a heck of a lot more in common than we do that separates us. That's the start. And then we might start asking ourselves the question, well, we have the same interests, we have the same desires, the same fears. What happens if we join together in brother and sisterhood? What happens if we join together as comrades, as colleagues, as human beings? And we say, enough is enough. And that living in South Carolina should not be seen as a national punchline, but instead it should be seen as a place of inspiration. Think about the enslaved at Stono in 1739. Think about the first South Carolina volunteers in the Civil War. Think about folks like Modjeska Simkins and Fatima Clark. Think about the Emmanuel Nine. Think about so many others. This state is a lot more than the John C. Calhouns and the Ben Tillmans. In fact, I would argue that this class proves that those folks have never been the majority of South Carolinians. They may have out-organized us. They don't outnumber us. But the Modjeska Simkins School is here to help tip the balance away from those who are opposed to human dignity and towards those like you and me who are here to fight for self-determination, freedom, and human rights for all. Very simple ideas, but ideas that are still under attack in South Carolina and across this country as we speak. That does not mean, however, that this struggle is one that is a losing one. Instead, we are all in this for the long haul, not only for ourselves, but for folks who are not in this room with us, for our brothers and sisters across the state and across the country and around the world. And we are also here, most importantly, for our children and their children, for folks who are yet to be born. The Modjeska Simkins School is so much more than 16 Mondays out of the year when we learn and fellowship together. This is the start of a much broader journey, one that I hope you will continue long after this school ends this year. Whether you become engaged citizens, activists, or organizers, you find some combination of the three that satisfies your needs. I want to say that I'm proud of all of you, and I'm glad to know all of you. Because by doing this course, you have said to others, you've said to the rest of the state and the nation, that you actually do give a damn about your fellow man and woman. Mm-hmm. And that, these days, is the most radical idea of all. So once again, thank you so much for joining our school this semester. And pretty soon you'll be getting your diplomas. Before that, we do have a special message from a friend of the school and a friend of mine, Dr. Bobby Donaldson, University of South Carolina.
Greetings from the Columbia Museum of Art at the Intersection exhibit. I'm Dr. Bobby Donaldson. I'm a historian and professor of history at the University of South Carolina. I'm also the founding executive director of the Center for Civil Rights History and Research. I've had the great pleasure of being associated with the Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights for many years. I've joined the school as a lecturer, as a tour guide, and as a fellow student of the history of South Carolina and of the United States. I want to extend my greetings to my colleague, Brett Bursey, and Dr. Robert Green, and the entire GROW team, who have done amazing work to create spaces where citizens from different backgrounds can come together to wrestle honestly with the history of our state and our nation. This school bears the name of Modjeska Monteith Simkins, educator, journalist, public health advocate, civil rights activist and strategist, and one of South Carolina's most courageous champions of human rights and human dignity. And as you complete this class and this course of study, I encourage you to look again at your lecture notes, the readings you've completed, the documents you've examined, and the stories and the people that you've encountered over these 16 weeks. And in doing so, I am hopeful that you will discover a powerful lesson. Each generation inherits both a history and a responsibility. More than a century ago, Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History because he believed that the people's history must be preserved, and that people must know their history if they are to understand the present and to shape the future. The study of history, he argued, was not simply an academic tool or exercise. It was a tool of democracy, of citizenship, and freedom. One of Dr. Woodson's greatest allies was South Carolina native Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. In 1935, speaking before the association, she described her audience as truth seekers, interpreters of truth, and the disseminators of truth, reminding them that, quote, "The search for truth is not for timid souls." 2 years later, Dr. Bethune issued a challenge that remains relevant today as you graduate. She said, "If our people are to fight their way out of bondage, we must arm them with a sword and a shield and a belief in themselves, based upon the sure knowledge of the achievements of the past." And she reminded us of our obligation to preserve and to share that knowledge, urging us to tell the story with, quote, "continually accruing detail from the cradle to the grave." History, Dr. Bethune taught us, is not just decoration. History is not just a marker or a monument, but history as you know it from this class must be a weapon. It must be armor. It is one of the most powerful tools available to us seeking justice and freedom. And those lessons found expression here in South Carolina in 1946. That year, the Southern Negro Youth Congress, which Ms. Simkins helped organize, issued a draft summons to a youth legislature that was to meet in the township. This is what they said 80 years ago. "We are the sons and daughters of a people of courage. Ours is a history of struggle for democracy. Each generation has had its historic task. We can wait no longer. We're not alone. Our cause is the fight of all Americans who hold democracy and freedom dear." Those young people 80 years ago understood something important. History was not simply something to admire from a distance. History was something to act upon. That same summer, young people gathered at Harbison Junior College in Irmo to study the major problems facing Negro youth in the South: voting, jobs, peace, and freedom. And in some respects, what you're doing in this class models after the Southern Negro Youth Congress. On October 20th, 1946, 78-year-old Dr. Du Bois gave the closing address in Columbia at the Southern Negro Youth Congress. It was one of the great speeches of his life. Here this old man looks into the face of a young activist, and he gave them marching orders. He told them that reason could prevail only through pitiless, blatant publicity. The truth, he said, had to be forced before the eyes and the ears of the nation. Visibility, voice, truth, the courage to make oneself heard, the struggle for rights, the struggle for democracy, those themes that were debated and discussed 80 years ago have animated this class. The same struggles for truth that Bethune and Simkins confronted are not finished. The romanticized history told by others is still too often presented as the whole story. Your task, your assignment, your charge as graduates of the Modjeska Simkins School is to help to tell the truth, the whole truth, and to defend it when it is challenged, to share it when it is ignored, and to extend it to future generations. You must be instigators. You must be truth tellers. You, like Simkins, must be hell raisers. Arm the people with the knowledge of the past. Tell the story. Preserve the memory. Speak the truth. Once in an interview, someone asked Ms. Simkins her name. She said, "My name is Modjeska Monteith Simkins, but really, my first name is Fight. My middle name is Fight. My last name is Fight." And so to the graduates this afternoon, fight on. Congratulations.
You know, it was Dr. Bobby Donaldson, again, a friend and ally of the school. And I just want to say, this is why I was glad when I saw the program that I went before him, because I couldn't possibly follow that up. But I think you've gotten the message there. So now it's time for the main event. Time for the graduates to receive your diplomas to show that you are indeed graduating from the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights. So a couple of ground rules for this before we get started. Number one, as your name is called, please come to the front. We will hand you your diploma up here. And we will then ask you to speak for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so, to talk about what you've gotten out of the school. We often like to hear from our graduates what they've gotten out of the school, not just so that we can use that to think about how to tinker with it for the next year or so, but more importantly, so that you can kind of reflect on what you've learned and what we've all learned collectively. Again, each and every one of you has a unique story to tell about your experience in the school and what the school has done for you. So we are, again, excited about that. And by the way, one last thing, after you receive your diploma, if you'll walk that way, you will receive a special magnet, a Modjeska Simkins School magnet that you can pin to a lapel or what have you, a memento from us to you to help you remember what you've learned and what you've done in this class. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the diploma handouts. First, Amy Armstrong, please come on up. Oh, by the way, when you come out, let's make sure we look at Becky just taking back.
Okay, I'm going to try to be quick. Okay, first of all, I'd like to say what a blessing and pleasure it has been these last 16 Mondays, well, 17, to attend. The information has been timely, relevant, and things that I could use immediately in my 8th grade social studies class. I teach 8th grade South Carolina history. I just want to thank the Modjeska Simkins School, GROW, the South Carolina Progressive Network, for the teacher scholarship and for encouraging me when I met them at the South Carolina Teachers Conference back in November to attend this class. It has been such a blessing. Dr. Green, your passion and enthusiasm is unmatched. I feel like I'm ending a good book. I hate to see this book end. All of those who have spent Brett, Cecil, and Mr. Felder, for the time that you have spent, use your life working. Let me get back to my. Working for human rights and civil rights, and for continuing this difficult work that Mrs. Simkins committed her life to. The knowledge is not new knowledge, but a lot of it was new to me. And I just thank you so much for it. I think that this class should be a requirement for all South Carolina teachers. I'm on a mission to promote it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to encourage them to take it, especially those who are teaching South Carolina history. Teachers can only teach what they know. And most of them don't realize how much they don't know.
Yeah.
Ignorance is not bliss. I plan to take what I have learned and go forward and continue to teach truth.
All right, thank you for those kind words. Up next, Emma Connell. Emma Connell, please come on up.
God dang.
Perfect.
Drive over here, my partner asked me what I was going to say. And I realized that I had not like properly prepared. But sitting up here, I really want to say thank you to Brett. I want to say thank you to Dr. Green and Cecil, also Cecil. Yeah, Cecil too. Thank you to Mr. Felder. And thank you to all of you. There were so many moments where people chimed in, either in the chat or just gave their input that were incredibly insightful and very, very meaningful. I went to school for philosophy, and that essentially just meant that I was an armchair intellectual, not particularly interested in the real world. And now I've realized just how important actual praxis, being here, doing work, being alongside other people in community is to the process of liberation. And I'm just incredibly thankful to everyone. So, thank you.
Oh my goodness. All right, up next, David Crumbling. David Crumbling.
Hello, everyone. I apologize. I just came down from 2 intensive weeks of study for my master's program in climate science. So I'm like, my brain is mush right now because I've learned a lot there on top of the 16 weeks of this school. So I'm drowning in education right now. But I just want to say that, this class has really, motivated me and made me realize I'm not alone here in this state. It's easy in this deep red state to feel isolated and disconnected, and that there aren't others like you that care about humanity. But tell me that not only is there more people here than just me like that, but this has been our history going to the beginning, and there's always been people that have cared and have wanted to create community and fight for each other. So I appreciate this experience, and I have to keep on learning. So thank you.
Right, and by the way, I understand what you're going through trying to finish my master's degree, so Godspeed. Up next, Tyrone Felder. Tyrone Felder.
I'm not a big speaker, but anyway, I just really enjoyed this class. It meant a whole lot to me. And all of the great teachers and professors, and just the whole staff alone. And I really want to thank the Sumter class for inviting me and letting me be a part of their experience. And it's really been really great. I've learned a whole lot of history. And it's just so good to get to see you all in person. So anyway, I just, not a big speaker, but I want to thank you all. And I really hope this class continues because it does enlighten you and it does give you a lot to work with, you know? So I really thank you all. And I appreciate it.
I claim him as cousin. Next to Steve Hart. Steve Hart.
The only thing I can say is this is the most eye-opening experience that I've ever had. I've only been in South Carolina for less than 9 years, and I did not expect to see the history revealed in such a way. But the experience is well worth the time, and I think I'm going to sneak in a couple of times when this thing is offered again. But Cecil, you're the one that got me into this from the Lancaster side of the state. So thank you and congratulations to all of us.
Randy, how many of your students want to come back next year to your classes?
Well, you know, I think typically every year we have quite a few come back. So yeah, if you want to come back next year, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah.
Right. Next is Michelle Ross. Michelle Ross.
Did you ever hear that song, Short People Cow?
Yeah.
Nobody.
It's a terrible song.
I want to thank you so deeply, and because you have awakened in me not something that I've carried that's been asleep, but has always been awake, only now even more so.
Wide awake.
Wide awake. And I have I've always been a fighter to some extent. But now I have 13 grandchildren. I have a great grandchild about to be born, and I'm really in for it for them. The dates and give me dates and names, forget it. I'm not going to remember that. But you tell me the story and you show me visually, and when I am out on the sidewalk and I see what I observe, the injustices, none of that makes sense, but oh, well, I remember the story. And you have expressed that story so well.
Yes.
You made us all jump from our chairs in Sumter. And we're out and we're getting ready to run. Thank you, Brett, for your vision. Thank you for your time in jail. Because it's like, yeah, it's like I was just asking a question. What is it when you know something so deeply and you know it as truth and you're willing to stand there and receive whatever is thrown at you for that truth? Ooh. I want to go to jail now. Honored to know you.
You know, I've been urging Brett for years now to write a memoir, and now we have a title. Thank you for going to jail. I think we gotta make sure to clip that and use that for next year. Up next, Sophia St. Marie.
Pretty hard to follow a lot of what's already been said. Obviously, thank you to Brett and Cecil and everybody else who's had a hand in this. I think I got introduced to Modjeska School about a year ago, and through Brett and Becky. And one of the first things that I heard in this room just passively, was community is the cure to fascism. And that has been something that I've held very deeply for the past year, as a community organizer and other stuff. It's important to carry, and I think this has been pretty foundational, giving me something to kind of launch off of in a great way. So thank you guys.
All right, now we do have a few folks on Zoom who are also graduating, and this is our first Zoom certificate recipient, so to speak. Loretta Felder, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Congratulations, Loretta Felder.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Green. I did not know that I would speak today. I am one of those returning students. I got so much from this class last year, and it didn't disappoint. I mean, this year, again, fresh topics, studying with community, sharing ideas in the chat. I just thank the whole Progressive Network crew. And again, I reiterate what the last person said. Brett, thank you for going to jail. When you're willing to sacrifice your life for something you believe in that much, it challenges all of us to kind of examine ourselves and see how much change and what we're looking at now means to us. But it's been great studying with this class as well as the class before, and I hope to join you again next year.
All right. Thank you, Loretta. I want to give one of the Zoomers and one of the graduates to impress upon people that it's worth coming back for. Loretta's been a great student, and we have some that have matriculated for 3 and 4 times.
And another cousin of mine.
Well, and I think it's again worth noting here tonight. We have a couple of folks from the Sumter site who've spoken. Never forget, if you learn nothing else in this class, you should have learned by now that the sun never sets on Sumter, South Carolina. But James Noble has said so much about Sumter's history in this class. That could be its own separate course by itself. What happens in Sumter does not stay in Sumter. And we're all better for it. All right. Up next, Mary Ann Mason.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for even including me. This is my second time, and I would definitely tell anyone who's done it to do it again, because I plan to do it again. And I would also say, Dr. Green, you have made me think about things that I never thought would be in my mind. So again, thank you for the opportunity. And Mr. Felder, I would definitely like to sit with you for 2 or 3 hours and pick your brain. Thank you, guys. And congratulations to everyone else.
I think this is another, yes, another person on Zoom. Leslie Minner. Leslie Minner, congratulations.
All right. Can you hear me? Thank you so much, Dr. Green, and Brett and Becky for all your hard work over the decades. And I did learn a lot. I missed a couple classes, so I have to go back and review them. But I really appreciate everything you did, and everybody keep up the fight. I'll see y'all out there in the streets.
All right.
Peace out.
All right, and Jessica Vanderbeek. Jessica Vanderbeek, congratulations.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I feel so very grateful to have had this opportunity to become better educated. I come from Maryland, and I had a pretty good idea about history in that state and going to an HBCU there. But since living here, obviously, I didn't have that deep of a dive. I really appreciate having this knowledge so that I can understand where we are today better. And with the community work and organizing that I do here, this will only improve my further endeavors there. And I definitely would love to come back again and again, and when I have capacity in other ways, participate in deep dives and that sort of thing. So thank you so much.
Aaron Worth. Aaron Worth, please come to the front. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green, Brett, Becky, Cecil, and all their lecturers and staff. Very grateful to learn more of our history in detail, which seems to continue to shape our present and future. Looking out, trying to build community, especially after the past years of increased divisiveness. I'm really appreciative of everything that Grow does here. Thank you.
Please come on up, Laura Leiker. Laura Leiker.
I too am a teacher, and I'm right there with you. That was one of my big things, was we are going to make this mandatory for teachers, and it should count towards their professional development and their certification. This is my research year, and I wish, this could have been a part of it. But I'm glad it was on top of it, and I'm not complaining at all. I'm so grateful to you guys. Thank you so much for all your knowledge that I get to pass. And I get to share this with a large, a relatively large population. So I appreciate that so much for all of that. I also have a little bike club. I started a nonprofit for schools to learn about bike buses and bike clubs, and I started a little bike club at my school. We always go out with the intention to learn something new, but they are also learning how to build community, right? And how to share that with each other and bring people in. And we have a little mission next year, a rally for, we're going to rally for better and safer roads for cyclists and walkers. So, thanks again.
Up next, Jackie Cohen. Jackie Cohen. Cohen here. right, well, next is Nancy Tolson, please come on up.
Oh, thank you very much. It's fun. Thank you all. This has been a wonderful experience. I'm actually here to speak for me and Kenethia, so I got 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Kenethia is in Grenada celebrating her birthday. I'm not mad at her because joy is resistance. I want to thank you all for this experience. Impressive, impressive, impressive. I tell you, South Carolina really is historic. And it's so important that we all know that. I just experienced the last 2 weeks of being in Cincinnati for the AP African American Studies exam. I was one of the scorers. And it is important that I say that because we don't have it in South Carolina because it's illegal. And we have to fight for that. For you teachers that are teaching this, it's so important that AP FM is on in South Carolina. So that's something I will be fighting for this year so they can get back on the books. But that also means we all got to get out and vote. But this class has really reiterated all of that for me. It's a joy always being your presence, always being you all's presence, your presence. And for Robert, I'm always impressed every time I speak to Robert. You know, I enjoy just lunching with Robert, so I learned something. But it's also important and very much in knowing and the joy in knowing that there's others out here that are interested and love South Carolina as much as we do. Yeah. And so we have to make this contagious. Let's spread it like COVID. And again, I'm so glad you went to jail, and I'm so glad you survived it enough to come here and be with us. Thank you all.
All right, so far we've got, thank you for going to jail. We got spread the school like COVID. We've got
Marketing school.
yeah. All right, up next, Ryan Jenkins.
So how I ended up in this class, like I shared at the beginning of the year, my great, awesome little big sister, I call her Taylor Simon. Robert was talking about how she participated in this class, and I admire everything that she does. And I was like, if she was here and she's doing awesome, dope thing, I need to be here. So I also, as I was sitting there reflecting, growing up, I was somewhat of rebellion in not the best way. And I thought about how as I've gotten older, I find ways to be more rebellious, but in the right way. I was that teacher who would teach books that wasn't necessarily on the list, but I saw the merit in it. And I was one of those teachers that talked about things that, you know, I got pulled in the room and it was asked, well, why are you teaching this? So I want to keep that going. I'm not in the capacity that I used to be. I teach adult ed now. At least I hope I keep teaching adult ed. That's another story for another day. So I'm learning as I do certain lessons with them, I'm quick to hear I was never taught that. So I want to keep that going. I also not only should we advocate for teachers to have this as a recertification course, somehow this curriculum should be broken up among the South Carolina history courses that the students have to learn. Yes. Like what they're being taught is not learning here, and that's sad. Correct. And we already know who controls the textbook systems, and we need to control that also. I also learned what Robert said earlier, and I know you did not downplay your speech before Dr. Donaldson. That was awesome. So with the line you said, how it's not that we're outnumbered, we're out organized. Right. So definitely this course has taught me to put myself with a group that's organizing, to put boots on the ground, because I feel like I'm doing something, but I'm definitely not doing enough. Especially when you're talking about school board meetings, county council, what do we need to do to have our face in the place and making sure our voices are heard? And lastly, I'm an author.
I'm a children's book author, and I'm learning more and more as I study other authors. There's a lot of history you can compile in a children's book. And as we were going through notes, I literally would put someone's name and said, okay, this should be a children's book. This should be a children's book. So stay tuned.
So what you're saying is that we should be looking forward to a children's book about the life of Brett Person.
We're glad you went to jail.
By the way, person who has Jack's phone on the screen, could you please put your full name on the screen so we actually know who you are? All right. Up next, Eric Jones. Eric Jones.
Yeah, just grateful to be here. Grateful to Dr. Green, everybody that spoke, Brett, everybody else here. I'm also grateful to live close enough to be able to attend most classes in person. See you, Dr. Green, speak in person. You're just an amazing speaker and teacher, and for people with short focus and attention spans like me, it's good to have engaging talk. I talked about in our first class when we did our introduction, how I moved back here 6 or so years ago and was just counting the days till I could move back, out. And I mentioned the bike club street meet that I found and gave me some community. I have a sticker over there that says "This bike kills fascism," and as someone else said, community does as well. And this has just added to my community. It has somehow alleviated my anxiety about the world around us right now, which was an interesting thing I noticed pretty much from day one. Thinking maybe learning some of the bad history of our state might make it worse, but in fact, it put a name to the face, kind of. And if I can't retain dates and names and facts, then I have a broader context, and I hope to continue to spread that to not just our fight group, to family, friends, community, and I look forward to the African history class as well. I'm going to try to get in for those. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and that's a reminder, if you've not already signed up for the African history course, please do so. Again, that's Stop the Burning Gallman. That course is phenomenal. So even if you have only passing interest in African history, you should still take it because it is absolutely worth the time. What you'll realize after the first class is that there is so much we have not learned about Africa and Africa's place in global history that we need to know, especially these days. All right, up next we have a twofer. The Ken and Joyce Cheeks, please come on up. Ken and Joyce Cheeks.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for this course, especially you, Brett.
You were actually a part of the pro board for many, many years.
That's what I was about to say. I didn't say that. I'm actually an attorney here in Columbia, and that's how I first met Brett. I was working with the ACLU, and Brett called me to help him with some other national lawyers to keep him out of jail. So that's how I first encountered. Exactly. So that's how I first met Brett. But it has been an exciting journey for me having known Brett. I obviously thank you, Mr. Felder and Mr. Cohen and Becky and all of the staff at Grow for all of this, for this exceptional program. It is, for me, it has been enlightening. And most of all, it's been humbling for me. I started this journey very eager to learn about our real history. And why do I say that? Because I am actually, as you can see from this, I grew up in the segregated South. So I went to an all-black elementary school. I went to an all-black middle school. I went to, well, junior high at that time. Went to an all-black high school. Went to an all-black college, South Carolina State University. So the first time I ever even encountered Caucasian or other race of students was when I went to law school at the University of South Carolina. And in all that time and in all that education, I never learned what I've learned in the last 17 weeks of this class. So that in itself is amazing for me, and it is telling of what's going on in South Carolina. So the biggest lesson I took from this was realizing how much I did not know about my own state and about my own history. And what I appreciated the most about this course was it didn't just teach facts, because that was the problem with my learning history in the first place, was that it just all seemed like facts to me, stuff I needed to just remember. And because of the way it was taught to me, there was nothing important enough for me to remember. So with all that education, my worst course was history. But this has really given me a new insight, a new love of history. So I thank you guys for sharing that with me and making me more knowledgeable and making me more aware of what I didn't know. And it reminded me that we can't just sit back and admire the sacrifices and the courage of people like Miss Simpkins. We have to bring some of that sacrifice and courage into our own lives. So even though I have a lot more to grow, I'm leaving this first step very grateful and very humbled and inspired to keep learning. And of course, also to find new meaningful ways to serve now. Now, you heard me mention everybody else, but I didn't mention Dr. Green. I intentionally saved him for last, because Dr. Green has given me so much hope for the future. Why do I say that? I was shocked, I think it was maybe 2 classes ago, when Dr. Green told us he was just 4 years old. I'm telling you, I had no idea. Not because he looks older than 40, but his soul is definitely older than 40. Given me so much hope for the future, because that was my fear for the future, that the young people don't know how to take this forward. But now knowing we have someone like Dr. Green in front of us, I just feel so much hope for the future. So thank you so much for being who you are and for doing what you do. And thank you guys so much for encouraging this. And thank you, Brett, for this course. It has just been phenomenal for me. Thank you.
Say something, Kim.
Oh, yes, exactly. Well, listen, I want to just detail a number of remarks that my wife made, because we went to the same high school, the same college, and we've been married over 50 plus years. So I would just like to emphasize, as she was, giving gratitude and thanks for being introduced to growing what you're doing here. I mean, it's just been so eye-opening. It has allowed me to connect the dots of the landscape of the history of my life, because I also was graduated from a segregated school system, and it only changed after I went to South Carolina State, and they started downgrading high schools of Black high schools to middle schools and junior schools. But my introduction to growth has been a very organic process. I was a music educator for over 34 years. I retired in 2014 as a music instrumental director in Richmond District 1. I'm thinking back on that, the way that I got connected to grow was through a lady that I have so much admiration for, and that was Miss Marjorie Hammer. Those who knew Marjorie, not only was she a soldier in the fight, but she was also a lover of music. Yes. And she was one of my biggest fans. So in 2017, she actually had employed my services to provide music for Miss Modjeska Simkins' birthday. And that's been 10 years or so ago. And I met Brett, I met Becky, and I just knew them as friends. But until I took this class, I had no idea of Brett, your experiences in your early periods of being in this fight, going to jail and just being a soldier. And Becky, many of the publications that they have back there, you need to get her. She is the author, and I think she deserves a big hand for that. So I think I was just going to end by just thanking a few people, Brett, Becky, Dr. Felder, who I followed for years, Dr. Gallman, and of course, Dr. Green. I'm just so impressed. I mean, you're young enough to be my son. And I've always told my wife, I said, our future is really in the work that our youth will be doing. And for the last thing, in that second class, one of the persons on Zoom asked, well, what can we do? What is the next action step that we can take? And to me, it goes back to the saying of each one teach one. If we just share with somebody and that somebody share with someone else, we continue to support this movement. I feel like a freshman. I'm just beginning, and I look forward to continued participation in the classes and support of what you're doing here. Thank you so very much.
On the first and third Thursdays, Ken Cheeks is here with the musician crowd. So if you have nothing to do on the first and Thursday night, come out. Ken Cheeks and Company plays right here.
And Chris.
And Chris, yeah, and Chris. Chris is the upright bass player.
This part, if she is a graduate, but the only part we have is Steve.
Now, I see we have a Marlon Hart on the screen. Now, are you a student?
No, it's my wife.
Oh, that, okay.
Only part is in the room.
Yeah. Yes.
That threw me.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, by the way. We appreciate you being here with us this afternoon. And by the way, before we go on, a couple of things. I want to say, number one, I do want to make clear, Brett did do more than go to jail. And he keeps saying thank you for going to jail, thank you for being out of jail. Brett did a heck of a lot more than go to jail. We might remember all of it, but yes, a lot more than go to jail. And secondly, I want to reiterate what was said about Becky's work and her writings. It's worth noting that as a historian who often works in the realm of publishing books and articles and essays and so forth, it's the kind of work that Becky does that is so important, because there are only so many of us as historians doing this work right now. And there are only a handful of us who actually focus on South Carolina. And her books have been essential for my growth as a historian. They've been essential for the growth of my students at Claflin as well, and for folks who've been in Modjeska Simkins School too. So I think, again, Becky, you should not downplay what you've done, not only for this school, for Grow, for the Progressive Network, but really what you have done to save the legacies of some prominent South Carolinians who deserve a lot more. So let's give Becky another round of applause. Up next is Caleb Mickman. Caleb, truly thank you. This is very much a honoring experience. Truth being told, a lot of the work that I do is in labor, organizing, and education. And with that, a lot of my times I'm at the State House. And seeing Modjeska's portrait, one stands out because there's not many folks that look like Modjeska there in our State House. It's just her and Mr. Bethune. And I think Mr. Smalls now has a bust there, but that's about it. And of course, the monument that they just laid ground on. But anywho, that being said, just the resilience of her story, as well as meeting with Cecil, by Dr. Green and the other guest lecturers in those modules. It was very good because as we've been talking about, you see lots of despair and angst and gloom about what's happening, but by the history, especially here in South Carolina, like our state is very much true to this and not doing this whatsoever. So it's definitely been optimistic to be bold and courageous. And I do that moreover now in my work with the South Carolina Education Association. And it was neat to see Modjeska's sister, who in large part had support of the SEA's predecessor, which was the Palmetto Education Association, which my grandmother and a lot of my educators were a part of. In partnership with Modjeska when she was doing her moving work with the NAACP and what have you. So it's very good for me in that history because I come from a lot of educators who just done into me a lot since we do hail from the upstate and Spartanburg area. So I do recall that discussion about how the intensity that was with intimidation by the clans and whatsoever is very prevalent up there, and lots of intimidation today, like Anderson, Pickens, Oconee counties, which my dad's side hails from, in Seneca or what have you. But anywho, with all that being said, thank you again. And educators, please stop by and see me because again, we're trying to create this work and this history for this to be actually happening across our state and not diminished like it's currently in play. And shameless plug. Educators, it is free membership of the SCEA for now up until Labor Day. So I'll be here in the corner to talk more. And thank you. All right, up next, Maria Baraka.
Um, so I grew up here in the Midlands and I hated it here for a very long time. I mean, if you go outside today, that's one part of the reason why, but I really didn't feel connected to anyone or anything here. But then I found people, those like people, who were really kind and accepting and often like-minded. And through that community, I found this school. Actually, most if not all of us, I think, from the bike group are here because of one guy. Shout out to Nalanka. And I'm sure those of us who are here will be spreading the word also. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more of us soon. Y'all might need some bike parking around here. I don't know. But like Dr. Green said, the people who are causing the suffering in this country don't want us to realize that we're not alone. And it's in places like these that we realize that we aren't. So thank you to everyone who created this space and experience. I think if we keep working on staying connected and taking care of each other, we're going to be okay. I'm looking forward to what comes next and what we can do together. Thank you.
Also, let it be said that this event today may very well be the genesis of an anti-fascist Viking collective. So you have that going for us as well. So the next time Brett does go to jail, we'll need to ask to get him out of there. The anti-fascist Viking collective. Up next is Lula Hoffbauer.
Got a candy in my mouth. What? I have candy in my mouth. Cynthia gave it to me. I'm sorry. Oh, I have something to add to thank you, Brett, for going to jail. I think Monday too. I could promote it like with the Golden Girls theme song. I think you play Golden Oh, okay. I'm more sober now. Oh my god. This class has actually been something of a debt for me. Which I didn't expect coming into it. I think I told y'all at the beginning of this class that I'm from Ohio and the white people up there are good. You know, it's like and we get an underground railroad and like we couldn't be racist. You know, I grew up like that. And being in the church and feeling like, you know, God favors everyone and you really drink the Kool-Aid. But I think it is, somebody else said, I think it has been comforting knowing the name of what's happening right now. Because it hasn't been me being persecuted all this time, you know? And I've been blind and privileged. And now that it is me being persecuted, it's nice to know that there's people that have been fighting this type of bullshit all this time, pardon my French. It's comforting to know that there's people that come before me and that I have wise and trustworthy leadership to follow in my resistance. So I'm grateful to have been here.
Now you may enjoy your candy and peace. Here with the color.
There you
First, I'd like to say, thank you, Dr. Green, and I'd like to say that you are an excellent history teacher. And Brett, all the staff, thank you for allowing me to use this time and share this class with everyone.
I can't hear you, Hayward, and I'm sitting 10 feet from you. Pull the microphone out.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, I have enjoyed every minute of the class. I have learned so much. I have always loved the history, philosophy, and medicine. I remember my fifth grade history book. It was the most beautiful book I've ever seen. I used to sleep with that book. I kept that book all the way through school. I haven't got lost after I graduated from high school. I have learned so much about South Carolina history. I thought I knew South Carolina history. I was wrong. As Paul Howard would say, I have learned the rest of the stuff. What I take away, I take away. Oh, so much. I take away a way to explain things that people think they already know, but they wrong. You know, and so with that in mind, I want to say thank you. Thank you.
Cynthia Owens, come on down.
That's the type of it, lady.
Oh, bless you.
God.
Congratulations.
You. I love. Hello. My name is Cynthia Owens. My name is Cynthia Owens. I am a direct descendant of Jesse Owens. Oh. Wow. On my daddy's side. Okay. And married the Clapperton on my mother's side. Wow. And I can beat any of y'all races. Let's do it.
now.
I have a lot of joy in me from birth. This class shook it to the core. I understand why, but I didn't expect those feelings. Like now, I really want to cry, but I'm not because I have to read and I can't see the tears in them. That wrote this so that I wouldn't cry. But I'm a family. I'm from a family of 10 siblings. 22 of my family members, immediate and extended, military, all the way to the Pentagon. Our patriotism to this country did not be challenged. So see what's happening to it now. I'm speechless. 22 years in the correction facility. In one of the biggest jails in the world, right beside it. The learning got is start from the beginning of what was put here, South Carolina Surgery. Seven years working with the homeless programs in New York, where we started out with 3 shelters. One for the males, one for the females, and one for the families. In 5 of those 7 years, we went up to 300 shelters. But who in America, you can't even count the number of shelters now. And this is what one of the great countries in the world is doing to the people. This class needs to be everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Not just the schools, the churches. You can meet the Sunday school. You can meet for this. Because if you don't understand where we're going, how backwards we're going, you're going to be meat. But Underground Railroad. I'm going to stop. Because my joy is fleeting. It's so sad that with the combinations of such great intellectual minds in this space and beyond, undoing the most ugly intentional deeds of these 4 generations
of the most dysfunctional incessions past the inbreds, whose determination to ignorance and destruction of progress and righteousness has contaminated the world for 6 of my 55 years, 6 decades of my 65 years. Where we could have been so much further in our existence as nations, we have been and still are entangled with descendants and numerous negative forces. That was birthed right here in South Carolina. I used to say, I don't want y'all to know I'm from New York because y'all had a preconception of New York. I never had this preconception of South Carolina. And I still come here and recover. When I was a child, both my parents were from here. It's scary. You understand my father's pain, my mother's pain, and why my father had to sneak in the middle of the night to bury his father. The wars, which is cold, and all the other negativity still revolving around. Just growing up here. Oh, thank you.
I want you to know, though, that the joy that you shared with us today, partly through these mints, by the way. Thank you for that. The joy you've shared with us, we want you to hold on to that joy, because that is our most powerful weapon in the fight against tyranny. So thank you so much for sharing that testimony with us this afternoon. But also thank you for being here, and thank you for being a joyful human. All right. Up next is Theresa Harris.
That's going to be a tough act to follow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. But thank you, everyone. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to the school organizers, Professor Green, and all the amazing guest speakers. We had so many amazing guest speakers during the course of our classes this year. And I just want to also thank my fellow classmates that are online and those that came to classes in this school here. And also now that we're all graduates, so that's exciting. But as an educator and professor myself, I've always known the importance of cross-racial solidarity. And that, has gotten, I'm sorry, I just wanted to, just my nerves. I've always known the importance of cross-racial solidarity, and that we have gotten as far as we have because of that solidarity. But this class has provided me with so much, many more examples from the inception of the United States of how all races have worked together. And that's really inspired me about how we can move this work forward. However, it also helped me to reflect on the fact that when we think of racial injustice in our society, that many of the heroes that we uplift are singular. They're usually one race. We usually uplift one person of one race, and very little do we ever uplift multiple races at one time. Rarely do we talk about cross-racial solidarity. And I just think that we need to do more to uplift those stories, to show people that there are many cross-racial groups that have helped move our country forward. And so that's one thing that I feel like this class has been really intentional about showing us, that has just been really impactful for me, even as an educator and someone that should, I feel like, know better and know more about our history. That has really just been impactful for me and has really been good for me to reflect on. But that we also have more work to do, right? But I also wanted to say that one of my favorite classes during the course of this school was the labor organizing class. I just had no idea how impactful the Southern textile mills played in the larger labor organizing movement in the country, and the many deaths that took place in the upstate. And so, like many of the teachers that have said, as they have come up, that a lot of people in our state don't know the history of our state. And so we all have a lot of work to do to just continue to educate not only the kids that are coming up in our classes, but the adults of our state that have been here, that we need to just develop more citizens to just continue to educate people on South Carolina history. So thank you.
All right, up next is Patricia S. Baxter.
Hello, everyone. My time in the class has been truly indeed enlightening. I've learned a whole lot of things that I thought that I really did knew after teaching third grade standards for South Carolina, which is South Carolina history. But I find that there were a lot of things that I did not know. And just wanted to thank Dr. Green, Dr. Felder, Brett, and Cecil, and everyone else that was involved with the class. And I wrote something kind of simple. Teaching third grade social studies has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my career. Over the years, I have not only had the privilege of teaching my students, but I have also continued to grow as a learner. This experience has deepened my appreciation for South Carolina's rich history, the importance of civic engagement, and the role that informed citizens play in the shaping of our communities. And everyone here today has been talking about how to build communities. But in order to be a part of a community, I think that person has to feel some type of safety or belongingness to even be a part of it. So participating in the Modjeska Simkins School has been both inspiring for me and transformative. The Institute provided a meaningful opportunity to deepen my understanding of South Carolina's history, while also helping me as a teacher understand and gain new knowledge that I could share with my students that I teach and students in the classroom as well. It reinforced the importance of teaching history in a way that empowers students to think critically and ask questions and recognize that their voices too actually matter. Whether or not it be something that maybe that you're working on at school, if it's a mock election or what have you, to actually make it relevant to them so they can understand how things are really done. So Modjeska dedicated her life to advocating for equality, education, civic participation, and her commitment reminds us that meaningful change begins with the informed. So we, as citizens of South Carolina, have to stay informed and understand exactly what is going on around us. Her legacy is a powerful one. It reminds us that education is one of the greatest tools for creating opportunity and strengthening community. As both a teacher and a student, I proudly embrace the belief that learning is a lifelong journey and learning never ends. So every experience, every lesson, and every opportunity to grow to make us better educators and better citizens. Thank you.
All right, up next, Sam Gibbons. Sam Gibbons.
All right. If I can get this up high enough. Good afternoon, my name is Sam Gibbons. It has been an honor to participate in this with y'all and find a very broad community to be able to interact with. Brett, thank you for convincing me to do this. I love education. I've been an educator for about 10 years. It wasn't a profession that I thought I would be in until I was in it. But I love to learn, and this course has just continued to show that. And Dr. Green, you've been an excellent teacher, and I've enjoyed getting to learn from you and engage in some banter. And I love that style of teaching. It is my favorite. I too was a social studies teacher, and social studies asks this very important question: who am I, and what is my place in the world? And what I think this class did, as somebody that is from South Carolina, born in South Carolina, and God willing will die in South Carolina, eventually. You're not told the whole history. You can't learn the whole history. In fact, I didn't really feel equipped to teach U.S. history and Constitution because I didn't know enough of the history. I was a social studies teacher. I was fine with sociology. I was fine with human geography. I was fine with government and econ and, the social studies classes. But you got the history, and I just knew I was out of my depth. And you just teach the curriculum. And so this class gives me so much more depth to it. It's like your family passes down stories to you, but they don't tell you the whole story. They don't tell you the other parts about family history. This class is like going down there to the courthouse to find out the real stuff. Right? And so it just goes back to who am I? What is my place in the world? This course has just helped me feel more connected and more complete within the state, even though it is very much, I don't want to say that the course is shallow, the course is deep, but we know that there's a depth to it that there is still yet to explore and how to process. And, Cecil, your little bit about the teachers in the 1970s, well, that made it down there to the State House when I was berating them about their gerrymandering thing. It's like it took y'all from Bellevue Board of Education to 1970 to just desegregate. But you want to sit here and you are going to brush through in like a week and a half. Right. So when you mad, make it make sense. And again, it just helps us. It helps with those conversations. So what am I going to take away from the course? I'm going to take away how to engage with people about the subject, right? Because you can just sit here and address the misconceptions and get into the depth and just have these counters to arguments to things that they think that they know, or just be able to, again, that change in values, be able to paint it in a different light, right? To just bring impetus to that hypocrisy that is just buried under the surface. Because we all grew up with the culture and you go through and your culture is your culture. Do you ever stop and question it? And that's what this course does, is it helps us not only learn more, become more complete, but it helps us stop and question what is. And then, most importantly, it takes us to what can be. And that's the most beautiful thing here is what can be and what we can all do together. And that's the part that I look forward to the most. Thank you.
All right, Lisa Davy, come on down.
Well, gosh, it's really unfortunate I'm not prepared because I really had this all lined out and then I heard all these amazing speeches and my brain is gone. everybody brought up things. I was like, oh yeah, that was great. That meant a lot to me. That was impactful, and I got to say thank you. Y'all are amazing. The combination of knowledge and leadership and passion for this subject has truly changed my life. I am a lifelong learner like everybody in this room. And I like to think of myself as a civil rights and a women's rights activist. However, I had no idea what I was getting into with this class, and I am so, so grateful for the opportunity to have been here. And I'm a little sad that it's over. I really feel like you've shorted us in some way. I really feel like there's a 200 level that we go to next. But I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm just grateful to everybody in this room. I'm so ready to get into some more good trouble. How about y'all?
Sumter.
All right, well, once again, congratulations to the graduates. Give yourselves a round of applause. Everybody.
Yes, Dr. Green, I'd like to mention Joseph Reed and Chris Cottingham and Terrence Hassan of the Pendleton Group. We had some of the most exciting, sometimes angry discussions after classes when we would unplug the computer from zooming in. Those people are very grateful for their time. And we had a little graduation party of ourselves last week. And while I'm up, I want to give Dr. Green his annual gift from us. Spot. Can you guess what newspaper is in this box dated, what topic dated September 7th, 1934?
Oh, gracious. September 7th, 1934. I have a few guesses. Does it have to do with the General Textile Mills? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. I'm thinking 1934, so this is particular.
Wow.
And do we have anyone else who's getting certificates today?
Yes.
Oh, this is wow. Oh, this is
Wow.
oh man.
Wow.
I gotta hold this up really quick. I'm sorry. I know we got one last person left, but I'm sorry. As a historian, this kind of stuff is so awesome. I mean, like, look. I mean, this is what they're talking about right here, right? See the 7 strikers killed in South, 6 and 8 in fight with workers. Bar talk till mills close.
Wow.
So again, thank you so much for this gift, Cecil. And this is also a reminder that with the death of the newspaper industry in the here and now, unfortunately, 100 years from now, it'll be a lot harder to do this kind of thing. Talking about contemporary issues, but this is a reminder of the work that we've done before and the work that remains to be done. So thank you so much. So we still have, okay, thank you. We do have one last person. Okay. All right, Brenda Gardner, please come.
Yes.
Last but not least, I just want to thank God for being here. I just want to thank God for making it and being here. I cannot follow what everybody has said, But I thank you all. I thank you so much. I have been trying to figure out your age for the longest. And I believe you could be my son, so. You have so much knowledge, and I mean, I just thank God. It was a press to get to this class every day because I was dumb enough to go out of retirement and go back to what I love. And I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama, left when I was 17. I moved to Pennsylvania and I've been there until my husband kidnapped me and brought me back to South Carolina. It was fine moving, coming down every year 5 and 6 times, but to culture shock, to move back for good and didn't know I was moving back. So we were taking care of 2 homes at one time. And then he passed. So I'm trying to carry the torch for my grandkids, trying to learn. But when you think of all the things that you guys have done and are doing and still, plan to do in the future, I just thank God and ask him to give you strength to carry on and teach other people, young people, because it's truly a fact that whether you're Democratic or whether you're Republican or independent or whatever you are, the person that is, say, I'm in office, they're grooming that person to come up to be just what they are and represent them. So we have to use our brains and figure out what we can do and how we can do, because if a bad Democratic is in office, they're bringing up that other person to be a bad Democrat, okay? So you gotta use your brains to see what we can do to outthink. So this election, and I'm saying election because I'm a poll worker. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democratic. I'm glad to see you come out and vote. But we gotta raise up these young people, and I thank God that I know not to keep my eyes on what's going on, to keep my eyes on the prize, because I know, I'm gonna say it, I believe that God has control. And I believe that when he gets tired of all the nonsense that we're going through, please keep praying and holding on, because it's going to come to an end sooner or later. And our kids will not be back in bondage again. I don't believe that God has brought us this far to leave us now. Amen. So instead of looking at that dumbness, I look at TV a little, so I'm not completely knocked aside. But I know there's bigger and better. And if you guys are in the jail, you did some good stuff. You're teaching us. I am so grateful. I thought I had some history from Penn Center, but I mean, thank God for Penn Center to give this to me, because last Saturday I was 75. And I tell you, I think that God has some other things for me to do. So thank y'all for teaching me and opening my eyes, because my sister don't think I'm so weird, because they say, how could you love life so much and now you're in South Carolina? I said, well, it's one of those things. This is where my husband was from, and this is where he died and left me. So now I got to pick my boot up and go forward. I love South Carolina for what it's worth, but it is very different. So I'm here.
That's pretty big. You have to tape up let me introduce this. And I want to say something about wanting to go to jail. I'll do that in a minute. About is this guy you're going to sit here with a little over 2 minutes of somebody that went through some really interesting stuff. And Jim Campbell was born at the turn of the last century. And he ended up being a communist. And this, what you're going to hear is him in his public, he wasn't a communist until he came back from World War II, and then all these other people that put on that conference in the township auditorium that we've heard about, the one Dr. Donaldson talked about, the one Becky's got the book about. All this kind of brings South Carolina events affecting the world home closer to us. But listen to what Jim Campbell has to say. He was 93, I think, when he said this. 93. 93. And he died 2 years later. No, it's 90. Well, anyway, it's 20. Oh, well, I don't know.
It was the colored library. It was the back of the bus. There were the different water fountains. There was that conditioning through the operation of your life by the signage that directed where you could get water, go to the restroom, sit on the bus, probably live your neighborhood. Charleston was a completely segregated town. It was the African American community, African American church, the African American school. Every aspect of your life was governed by a sign. We are coming out of a civilizational crisis of racism, exploitation, into a civilization of humanity and democracy. That's a slow evolutionary process. We see evolution working its way through our offspring. It doesn't like that, no. The brain has to digest it, the body, those abstract things we call convictions, belief systems. Yet you've got to keep the pressure on. When Kissinger and Nixon went to China, Kissinger knew that Zhou Enlai was an expert on the French Revolution. And Kissinger says to Zhou, well, Zhou, was the French Revolution a success? Zhou's response was, it is too soon to tell. That's where we are. We're still working on those revolutions. These kids in the street today, they are fulfilling the American Revolution. The youth will burn itself up and kill its own self if it doesn't temper its energy and its creativity through the prism of the past.
It's really a shame people have to get old before they learn that. You know, I was as crazy as anybody was crazy when I was growing up in the military, living on Parris Island, Marine Recruit Corps from 63 to 66, going all place to segregated schools in an integrated phase, watching these kids trying to go halfway around the world. And for some reason, I knew more than the guys that were teaching them, and I knew more than the people that were going to die. I knew that what we were doing was going in there to reinforce a colonial reoccupation of Vietnam after they helped us fight World War II and give it back to the French so they export them. I said, this isn't right. And then they wanted me to go to Vietnam. See, there comes a time when you're raised well and you believe what they told you about red, yellow, black, and white, the oppressions in the sun. She loved the little show girl. Well, there's perfect attendance in football school. And then there was one I've got to say that Becky didn't cover. I think this was the second. I don't remember what grade it was, but it was when they God in the Star Trek Amendment. Little Star Trek Amendment. Pledge Allegiance. But I never said it because it was, I didn't learn it that way. Right. But what I did learn to sing at school was I'm so lucky to be an American, and I'm thankful each day of my life. I can vote for my choice, speak my mind, raise my voice. Yes, I'd like it here.
And damn, they kept beating me up and putting me in jail. That is a wonderful opportunity that you all have to realize that the hypocrisy, that they have not practicing what they're preaching, that's what the hypocrisy of has gotten to the point that we can't heighten the contradictions between what they say and what they do any more than Donald Trump has done for us. Thank you, Warren. We'll be remembered for that. But this is a post-hypocrisy period, but it opens the door for us to speak the truth forcefully and clearly. More importantly, to fuel you, to fuel you. You are the revolutionaries that are necessary to bring us back to the point that those guys that wrote that preamble, read the preamble again, and then read it again. Where did all that go? It was a visionary document. Ho Chi Minh used it. Mao quoted the preamble. There's nothing wrong with it. We have been raised in a different society to believe the founding fathers had slaves, and so the whole thing is bad. I spent decades of my life wanting to overthrow the government. I know better now why they followed me around and stuff. But it's not the government. It's the governance. It's the people that seized it. On the back of your little program here, you have those two things that I want you to always be able to, but at least if you can't quote it, to remember it. And this is what George Washington warned us about having, he used the term, cunning, ambitious, unprincipled men will be able to subvert the power of the people to usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying their afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. I think he had a vision of the worst thing that could happen. And it's 250 years now, and the unprincipled, unscrupulous people are actually trying to change the whole thing. And so speak loud, but speak from your heart. And defend that which it is that you need to use in your own life to separate yourself from one of the people that this is not what you're preaching or preaching yourself. You got to make those two things the same. I mean, there's a point where I believe that you have to realize you're maybe the only front in the revolution that you can win and hold. And so if we do that, then we can develop friends that do that. And that's the cadre. It mentions here, we're going to talk about the cadre. And there's one back there with a hat on. That's the secretary, treasurer for life. Where's Shannon? Shannon, stand up. Shannon signed in, and that's our treasurer who's been here for a long time. If you don't get James can't leave because Shannon won't let him. And Chris has been with us for a decade. Some new folks coming around that remind me of myself, and there's one Sam Baggett there from Beaufort. Yeah. And I was involved in all kind of radical stuff, and they chased me around all over the country and put me in jail lots of places. But it took me getting old enough to know what Jim Campbell just mentioned to you, and he was only 95. But that it's a process. It's a process. It's not an event. People think that changing things that are bad are going to have to wait till the next election. And Brenda, you mentioned about how the bad person that's running the show brings up another bad person. When Jimmy Carter was elected, he was a nice guy, right? This guy, nuclear engineer. And that he was elected at it was a sunny time in life. We've had the Great Society had done all this good work, and this Voting Rights Act was passing. And then Jimmy Carter comes along, and Ralph Nader said, "You can elect a straight man, but it's a crooked office." The way that money has taken over, the way that corporations have taken over. It can't get any worse than having these, what Washington said, use such fancy words here, the cunning, ambitious, unprincipled man. We have a cunning, ambitious, unprincipled man who's now in the pockets of the richest people who run corporations in the world. This is enough.
And we've got to find a way to be able to talk to everybody, not talking politics, not talking, Republican and Democratic candidates, but getting together with some people that you agree with and share your values and do something, have some cadre. This is my cadre. I couldn't do much alone, but I can do a lot with just a little bit of help.
Amen.
And we closed down intentionally trying to be a coalition of organizations. When we wrote our bylaws in 2021 during the pandemic. The Progressive Network was 25 years old. It started in 96 by an organization that I started with Modjeska Simkins in 1974, which is like more than 50 years ago. And in 68 and 69, I was with the Southern Student Organizing Committee that was, those people came out of SNCC. So the roots that you have here and meeting that lady next door, she was my age. She was 74 when I met her. I'm only 77. So please, for God's sake, don't let it take that long for you to realize you're the first frontier revolution. You got to get your act together. And it's that's the cadre. True. And what you're going to do is you're not only going to have a good insight in. We refer to our politics, their politics, the money-driven, rigged, gerrymandered politics. We play their game better than they did. Our cadre has changed the outcome of a half a dozen elections in the House of Representatives, the one in the Senate, in the last 10 years. And you know what? Nobody knows about it. We're doing it for fame. We're doing it for value. And we know how to do that. And if you get your cadre together in your neighborhood, in your community, you can work with those tools with them. And if you don't want to have that kind of deep dive and do that democracy 200 that Lisa's looking for, we've got to do that. We had no intention of this school being one course that was like a graduate level course. You had to be 65 years old to retire to take. So it's got time to do that. We want to teach our first circle of members to be teachers and go forth and spread it in schools and everywhere. Well, it didn't work that way. And we changed our gears in 2021 where the Progressive Network Education Fund, which is our 501c3, which is restricted to being nonpartisan. We don't have to be restricted to nonpartisan. We connected those dots a long time ago. We think that the partisan nature of politics is what's got us to the point that even when one party runs everything, they can't make a decision. And so that the idea of not reacting, but acting in a strategic way and learning how to be a smart voter, that's something anybody can teach. And we're launching, I don't know, it'll be the 4th of July. Mr. Raby's shaking his head. This is work that we've been doing for 30 years and taking the data that the census gives us and rearranging it and showing people that not only are there more of us that share values than there are them, but if we just took the same numbers they did and did not intentionally rig it, well, we would have at least a sensible middle that would have to vote. They'd have to support the people that don't look like them or think like them, or they couldn't get elected. That's what democracy is. And then we're, the only one, you heard me say it over and over again, the only one of the industrial advanced nations that has democracy, that has a two-party system driven by money. We're also the only one that doesn't have universal health care, the rights and all that kind of stuff. And they have much more participatory, representative democracy. We don't have a representative democracy. So you know enough now to know that you're not going to be all enamored in thinking that whoever the nicest person is, that even if they win, they probably can't do anything. You're going to work for them hard because you've got to do it. Do it well, do it strategically. But in the meantime, you know that what you're going to have to do is have some cadre that you work with, because you're not going to win every 2 years pushing a button. So I want to know if anybody here would be interested in coming back to an open class that we critique what we're doing and fix our modeling in school. And this is something that we want to know. We need feedback. And so we'll be sending out something. If you raise your hand if you'd be interested in doing a Zoom with us to help us learn how we break it down, do those short courses that people can come and do. We don't want to be a one-trick pony. And so we need help with that. So that's enough hands, right? I want to ask if any of the cadres got a word to say here. Yeah, Cecil. Shannon.
Hi, new cadre. It has been an honor to be here today. I wouldn't miss graduation for anything. You lift us up with your smiles and your thoughts and your stories. And I'm delighted to be the treasurer for the South Carolina Progressive Network Education Fund, from which Modjeska Simkins School flows, and the South Carolina Progressive Network, the sister C4. I get to manage all the money to keep Brett out of jail again. I know. So James and I worked really hard at that. But if you have not yet had an opportunity because you've been busy with classwork, here's new homework. Go to the South Carolina Progressive Network website. Look, write it down. Your favorite student right here, look, picked up a pen immediately and started writing down homework. Good. I taught second, third grade. I look for those things. Bless you. So go to the South Carolina Progressive Network website. Find the 3 lines at the top of the page that look like a little hidden menu. We've got to work on the web page. Click on those 3 lines. Go to About. Scroll to the bottom. Click Membership and Join. That is your first homework assignment. And if we had more time, I would have done another exercise and made you done it right now. But I know we're short on time, but that is your homework assignment. I'll get a report in 2 days from our website that will tell me who did it. So I won't check for 2 days, but in 2 days I'm checking. Thank you. Love you guys.
Now, I want to tell you, well, there's Bernadette Hampton standing in the back of the room there.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to congratulate each and every one of you and to let you know that I'm excited and I'm hopeful as well. And I'm also an educator to hear that so many educators now see the realization and the importance of having African American history being taught in South Carolina curriculum and getting it back as a part of our curriculum for our state because it's very important. And I'll look forward to working with you on moving that forward.
Yes.
And again, congratulations and thank you to all of you for giving up your time to go through these 16 courses. And now let's be like a pebble in water and just ripple out throughout this whole state.
I met her maybe 8 or 10 years ago when she was the president of the South Carolina Education Association. And she's now on our board and doing well in Beaufort, organizing and working with Sam Baggett and getting Penn Center, doing things now about the future as opposed to the past. There's one thing I wanted to say, and I'm going to give it back to Dr. Green, and then we're going to sing our fight song, which is on the back of your program. And Chris and Becky will explain how difficult it is to sing the song. But the thing that I want to mention to you is that when Shannon said become a member, I didn't finish the thought. We had membership of organizations in the 501c3 up until 2021, when over the years it became more and more apparent that the only organizations left in South Carolina with that standing were parts of national organizations. And so we're like a 52-year-old state-based 501c3 that makes good trouble here, and we don't wait for somebody somewhere else to tell us how to do it. So the leadership now, there's no members. We had this board that was like 60 different organizations when we started 30 years ago. And so that was not functional because we had those members elected our board. But those members weren't even from here. And so we were kind of ignoring that for a while and started the school with the idea of getting a bunch of you in the room 15 years later. And that the membership now, when you pay, goes to the same portal, doing the same work, but goes to the original group we started to do the same thing called the Grassroots Organizing Workshop. There's a sign out front. And GROW is your new membership vehicle. And the thing is that we don't want a big organization everybody belongs to. We want to share those ideas, those values, those strengths, and those fears. But we want you to realize you gotta fix it where you live. And we've got information, we can tell you, everybody on the street that told you they voted for you. And so you need to stay tuned for our future classes, and we'll be launching something that claims the right of revolution, the duty to disobedience to keep the values of this country alive. Dr. Green?
All right.
No worse and no play does not make it a full person. So on Thursday evening, we welcome you to come out to this facility. First and third Thursdays is jazz night, headed by Ken Cheeks. You heard him earlier. He's here every Thursday with an aggregation of musicians. Sometimes there are 14 people in here up there playing. On the second and fourth Thursday night, we have blues night. This little guy who plays the harmonica will make you jump out of your seat.
Yeah.
On second and fourth. So work hard, but come out and also play hard. Every Thursday, we're here. Bring your own bottle, otherwise Brett will serve you a glass of wine and you will make a contribution of it.
We're getting our permit and they can't bring stuff in anymore.
Well, sometimes you just bring home. After that, you don't have to pay. Look forward to seeing all of you at some point in time.
Add that we just started, we're gonna, the next time it'll be our third open mic night, and that's fun too. So it's the second Tuesday of every month at 7:30 to 9:30. That's for anybody with a little moxie and a little bit of talent.
More moxie than talent.
There's a lot of talent. I want to take the opportunity, thank everybody. But I want to ask you, if you are a retiree, please raise your hand. Look at everybody who's a retiree, look at everybody else who's raising their hand. Put your hand down. If you ride a bicycle and you're part of the bike collective, raise your hands, right?
Oh my God, they sit
Raise them real high, right? So everybody can see one another.
You know, watch out.
If you are a non-native South Carolinian who moved here, raise your hand. Okay, a lot of you too. If you're a native South Carolinian, raise your hand. All right.
Wow.
So all of this is an illustration that everybody has a community outside the Progressive Network and the Modjeska School, right? So on behalf of the board of the Progressive Network Education Fund, I'm going to tell you that sometime around, if you're an educator, raise your hand. I'm a former educator, so I'm raising my hand, Bill. So sometime around November or December of this year, because you're an alumna, you're going to get an email that serves as a commercial for the next iteration of the Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights, right? So that's going to start probably late February or early March of next year, depending on what the calendar looks like. And because you are alumni, you are our ambassadors to your communities, right? Your communities as bikers, as educators, as retirees, as people who are native, non-native, et cetera, et cetera. Your communities in whatever county that you live. So our ask of you is to begin thinking now about the people who would benefit most from enrolling and participating in the 2027 Modjeska Simkins School for Human Rights, and begin having those conversations with them now, so that it isn't a brand new idea to them when they start seeing items posted on social media in December or January when enrollment opens. But in fact, it's something that they're looking for because you've already told them about it. Does that make sense to you? Please help us help you by enrolling people before enrollment starts. Begin acclimating them to what you have learned and the value you have taken from the Modjeska School, so that when enrollment starts next year, we get flooded again, and I and other members of the board get to have those interview conversations with many of you on the telephone, as I did this year. Thank you all again so very much. We appreciate it. Dr. Green.
We've got to give Greg Howell 2 minutes. If you can give Greg Howell 2 minutes, will wonder where he got his law degree from. It's in South Carolina, it's somewhere in Illinois that used to have Nazi marches. You're in Skokie?
Right, you're right, in Skokie, yeah. Yeah, well, thank you, Brett. And, again, I just want to say, this is probably my fourth class since attending the initial one, I think in 2022, but it's always a pleasure to hear Dr. Green speak and Brett also to add his knowledge and his experience. And I learn each time I come, and I look forward to attending future ones and learning additional tidbits, and also, asking some questions based upon what I've learned and my continual reading upon our history. And I can't wait until to return to South Carolina to to assist with the cause. I try to do what I can from here in Chicago. Unfortunately, this is where I work and I'm working, but yeah, I look forward to coming back and helping to join you all in person.
We won't start the revolution without you, Greg.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so again, this is the closing part of our celebration for today, and it has become a tradition for us to sing together before we formally adjourn. Now, if you have your program, it's on the back of your program, and what I'm going to do is also share my screen so those on Zoom can join in on the festivities. This is called We Have Come Too Far. All right, so.
Y'all remember this from orientation, right? It was spectacular, and I'm sure you've been practicing. So, and before anybody leaves, we want to get another group photo. So don't sneak outside without having us have a chance to get a group shot.